I would rather you just keep being racist. As wild a sentence as that is to say, but seriously though, we know you're a racist.
Yeah,
We
keep
know.
throwing the same pitch. Yeah.
Right. Right.
But we're back. It's the playoffs. Neither of us are involved at all. Neither of the Rays. They're already out.
Oh, it's a hater bonanza today, baby. The Rays and the Jays are up out of here. It's a hater's delight.
Did the Jays officially lose?
Yes, sir.
Wow. So that just happened. So the Twins, it's like I don't. The Rays lost whatever. They had a really weird second half of the entire season. Things that they didn't see coming at all.
Or anybody.
Right.
Right.
So that's not bad. When you lose to the Twins, and I say this with all due respect to the Twins, which if you really break down the phrase "all due respect," it really doesn't mean
nothing ever follows it. That's anything remotely close to respectful.
But not only that, all due respect is like an arbitrary level. Like it's like beauty of the eye of the beholder. Like all due respect could mean no respect. It could mean a ton of respect.
Bingo.
People always use it as a substitute.
All due respect is always following. It's always followed by some shit where you're talking about somebody who you don't feel deserves a lot of respect. It's always that. We're not saying with all due respect about the fucking Astros. Like, we're not.
But the Twins, the genuinely 4 World Series ago. The Red Sox had won none the last time the Twins won a playoff game. It was against your Yankees in 2004. Believe it was extra innings. They lost, was it 19? Was 19 the final number? 19 straight?
I want to say it was 19.
It was 18 or 19. I think it was 19 because they were up against 20. And then they just ran into the Toronto Blue Jays. That's so much more embarrassing. I understand the Twins aren't last year's Twins. They're not the last 20 years Twins. However,
it's still funny.
These are probably the worst Twins I've seen in 20 years, too. Like playoff Twins.
Not that good. Playoff compared to the like I've seen better, like far better Twins teams. Like no disrespect, it's a good team, but like when you compare it to the other team that couldn't beat shit, it's like, damn, this is the one that did the trick. Because I've seen better Twins teams. The Maurer Morneau teams couldn't do shit.
Nothing. I think Santana was the last pitcher to start, or maybe he came in relief for that win. He was on the mound the last time they won, but him and Liriano.
I highly doubt he came in out of the pool.
Right, yeah, right. So he started that game because they also weren't. I'm sure they had 1 or 2 wild card games mixed in here in the last format, but they've pretty much just won the Central every year. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the toughest division. Every once in a while, Cleveland pops up. Detroit had their run at the beginning of last decade with that 4 aces rotation and middle-aged Miguel Cabrera. But for the most part, they haven't had too tough a time winning that division. They get to the playoffs, they typically run into the Yankees and get swept out of there every single year.
They were very happy the Yankees were not around this year. It was just, all right, we got Toronto? Yeah.
It is much, I mean, mentally they see those pinstripes and they're just like, we're done, we got nothing. Did they play you guys in a play-in game once?
Yes.
And that was the Severino. They jumped Severino immediately.
Yeah, he got bounced the first inning.
But then you guys, and then you guys took the lead in the bottom of the first, right?
Tied the game. 3-3 out of the first. Yes, Didi home run at the bottom of the first.
I don't know that I've ever seen someone need a shutdown first more than the Twins. Honestly, they should have got their closer up. Like, they should have got their closer up just to get out of the first. Because if they get out of the first, I think things go differently. But they trot. I don't remember.
Once the ball touched Didi's bat, I was like, all right, who are they playing? Who are they playing the next round? This is over. This is a wrap. Who are they playing the next round? With all due respect. It was ended up being Cleveland, as a matter of fact. But yeah.
I didn't, for a second in the top of the first, like it was funny that Severino got bounced, but I didn't for a second think I don't remember celebrating. I don't remember laughing. I was like, I'm not like the Twins have not earned that. They've not earned first inning gloating. I know how this ends.
No, I don't. I was like, listen, it's gonna end. My text messages were going crazy. I'm like, at 5-0, maybe I'll start. My heart will start to beat a little faster. At 6-0, I'll be concerned. 3-0 ain't shit. Not against these dudes and this type of stuff. 3-0 is not. It's not enough for me to concern myself with. And Irvin Santana had a nice little peak run or whatever, but he wasn't that at that time. So I'm like, he's on the mound. Like the Yankees will have their opportunities. We'll see what they do with him. And I didn't expect it to be in the first fucking inning, to be honest with you. But they tied the game not too long thereafter. It was all right. Yeah, this is gonna go fine.
It was so immediate. They've lost game. They've reinvented how to lose games since 2004. Because I believe that next game, game 2 against the Yankees in 04, they lost in extras after like tying it in the 9th. Like they
super shallow sac fly. Super shallow. That shit was so barely behind the fucking infield. They were like, yeah, we're gonna send him. We don't care.
I don't know that there's a more, and it's looking good right now in terms of Minnesota Twins baseball. At least the most promising it's looked since fucking 03. But there are cities that get dubbed worst luck, worst sports, and I don't mean the fans. I just mean the franchises. Mm-hmm. Cleveland comes to mind, obviously. Detroit comes to mind. I put Minnesota above both of them because I'm a firm believer that you don't know real pain unless there's some level of expectation. Like if you're just bad, yeah, it sucks. You become a laughing stock, but there was no expectation for your heart to break. Heartbreak is the ultimate barometer for me for who's had it worst. And Minnesota, really since Kirby Puckett won them a World Series back in, was that 91, 93?
I think it was 91.
Yeah, so whenever it was. Mm-hmm. And I say this with actual respect to the Minnesota Lynx, who have been like a dynasty throughout all of this, but the men's sports in Minnesota have been a laughing stock. They've lost in ways you couldn't believe. They've also had weird wins, like the Stephon Diggs walk-off against the Saints. Like they've had such crazy highs that are immediately like the next week just shit on to no end. They had Kevin Garnett's entire prime, never got out of the first round ever, or maybe once.
No, they did once when they brought in Cassell and Sprewell. They got out of the first round one time. His tenure there once.
And his jersey's not retired because he hates them. Like he hates Glenn Taylor so much, and Glenn Taylor hates him back. And it's just like, all right, so you had like a top 20 basketball player of all time. Fuck that up as hard as one can fuck it up.
Yes.
The Twins.
I mean, the Vikings finished 15-1 and lost because their kicker, who missed no field goals the entire year, missed one in the NFC title game with like 2 minutes left.
That was like 98, 99,
yes,
right? Yeah. They had that. They had Randy Moss and Chris Carter together. That didn't fucking matter. They're kind of Seattle in a way. Like Seattle, especially baseball-wise, Seattle's just been this factory of cool player after cool player, and it's meant fucking nothing. Like absolutely nothing.
Seattle, and yes, I'm going to be a hater. We've been seeing the same fucking highlight from a wild card series for 28 years. 28. It happened in 95, bro. I was 8, and I'm still seeing that shit now. Like, why? Like, every 2 seconds, like, that's all they got. I'm not even saying that to be rude. It's the truth. That's all they got. Truth. It's the truth.
You're talking about Griffey sliding into home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, bro, they made a video game off that shit. I've seen they made a video game, a fire game, but they made a video game off that shit. We've been seeing that shit every time Seattle is even near the playoffs. They bring out the Griffey clip and they just start running it. Like, oh, see, this is what happened in '95. Bro, that wasn't the last time they was in the playoffs. It wasn't. No. It was hard to believe, but it wasn't the last time they was in the playoffs. And the last time they were in the playoffs before, I think it was last year, I want to say it was 01. And the Yankees kicked their ass in 01. We don't see those clips. I see Griffey sliding home every year. For what reason? They didn't even win a championship. If they won the championship, fine, and show it as much as you want. Bro, they got bounced the next round. They won one more game after that. One. And we still see that shit 28 years later.
It's a tough scene. And Seattle, I think, has more like higher Q score guys, Griffey, A-Rod, Randy Johnson, Ichiro, Felix Hernandez, than Minnesota. But Minnesota's had like very cool players, very dominant starting pitching, dominant closer. Most of that's Joe Nathan forever. But even John Duran right now is, I don't know how anyone ever got a hit off him. He's preposterous.
Bro, he threw in the 9 minutes he threw like, I think it was like 103 on the black. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? What is anybody supposed to do with this, bro?
And then he's got a crazy slider too. It's just like, okay, sure.
Right.
Yeah, that's what it is. He's got the splitter.
If you come in with 103 and you throw anything else, right. I don't care where it is. At that point, it could be down. You throw a splitter down the middle. Bro, I was prepared for the 102. What do you want me to do about this?
Yeah, it's every time I see him, I'm just like, I forget this guy is like maybe the best pitcher alive, like inning for pound. Like,
bro, there are certain pitchers that pitch it. You just like, bro, how do people ever hit baseballs? Like, period. Like, Felix Bautista sucks that what happened to him in the injury, but like, he's another one. But it's just like, yo, he's throwing that. He's throwing 101 on the black, and he's throwing a splitter in the dirt. And it's like, what are you supposed to do with either of those pitches?
And he's, I don't know his actual height. He feels about 6'9", 310 when he's on the mound.
I want to say he's like 6'6".
But yeah, like I know he's not short.
Though. I feel like he's 7 foot though, for real.
Because he's not. I feel like most tall pitchers are rail thin, like Chris Sale, like Randy Johnson, rail thin. Yep. Bautista's like it looks like Ortiz is up there. Like it's genuinely, and I'm not calling him fat by any means. He's built like he's horrifying.
No, right? No, we not calling him fat. He's built.
Yeah,
he's built. He's built, man. He's stout. And he's throwing them 101 and 102 and then splitter. It's like, what is anybody supposed to do with any of these pitchers, bro?
Do Yankee fans, and if the whole fan base doesn't feel this way, how do you feel generally about the Orioles? Because I see a lot of Red Sox fans pulling for the Orioles, and I disagree with that sentiment.
I kind of feel like I kind of feel it depends on the age of the fan, because like people, not really. I don't care about the Orioles. The Orioles have spent most of my life being terrible. I don't have any feelings towards the Orioles, but some people who are my age or older remember the 90s when the Yankees and Orioles were having battles in meaningful games, and maybe they feel a way because of that. I just don't like anybody in my division. I don't really like. It's not so much like I'm going out of my way to hate the Orioles, but root for them. No, I'm all set, but no, it depends on the age. Like these whippersnappers who are like 25, they don't know shit. They don't know shit about shit. Like they have no reason to hate the Orioles. The Orioles have never done anything to them. They've just existed. They've largely been in last place for a decade. Call it 8 years, 10 years, however long since the Manny trade, whenever the fuck that year happened. Yeah, right. They've been in last place largely since then. But me, the Orioles just they go out there, they play baseball, they play it well, and that's it. Like the Rays and the Blue Jays just can't get the Yankees' dick out their mouth. And then on top of that, they act like the Blue Jays comport themselves like losers. The Rays just are obsessed with the Yankees, and it's like, sure, all right, you finish ahead of us every year. What do you want? Like, go win a championship. Stop concerning yourself with us. Thank you.
The Rays are wholly unserious, and I mean, to the Orioles' credit, they were not the basement dwellers because the Devil Rays existed. Like they were as shit as it got for Baltimore. Tampa was always 75 feet below them until they changed their name to the Rays. Longoria and David Price hit. That's when things started changing for them. And they've been pretty consistently good since that 08 season. Like they've been, I don't remember any real low years for Tampa since 08, which is a tip of the cap to a team that spends $17 a year on their team. But to your point, yeah, they've come close. They were in the World Series, the COVID year and 08. Yeah. Nothing to show for it. I saw they had less fans in the playoff games against Texas than the Royals had their last game of the season. And the Royals lost 106 games.
Dude, did you watch any of the game today?
No.
There was one point where I forget what the score was at that point, but the Rangers were running it up on them, and the announcer Sean McDonough is like, because the Rays fans were booing, he was like, and they're booing in the crowd. Oh, you know what? Actually, I don't think it's big enough to call it a crowd. The group is booing.
Yeah,
he said the group is booing. Yeah. But I don't know, like. The Tampa's attendance has always been what it is, and then when like the Yankees or Red Sox go down there, it's you feel like it's either Yankee Stadium or Fenway, and I don't know what to say about it. It's always been.
There's one Rays fan I'll give credit. I don't know if he must have. I'm pretty sure he was a season ticket holder. Do you remember pretty much from 08 until I want to say it was like 17, 18? They had one fan who heckled. Do you remember him? Because you could hear him clear as day because it was quiet in there.
I'm pretty sure, like, if you showed me him or like you showed me a picture, a still of him in the stand, I'm pretty sure I could remember. But
I've never seen him in my life, but he used to.
But you would hear him on the broadcast.
He had something for all 25 on the roster the whole game, and it was like. And maybe, yes, microphones and Nesson microphones pick up different shit. That's certainly, I could see Yankee fans being like, we're not putting this buffoon on our airwaves. Like, we're not doing that. I know I've looked it up before when I was on Section 10 because he definitely has a Wikipedia page, and he had, I can't remember if it was like the pandemic. He stopped going, he stopped renewing his tickets for not like an on-field reason, and he's just decided, he was like, this sucks, I'm done with this. But he's the only Rays fan I've ever respected because he was at least at all 9 or 10 Red Sox games I would watch the Rays play every year, and he never stopped. He was relentless. His team would be down 14, he's still going in. I respected him so much. But for the Red Sox fans who are rooting for the Orioles, I'm not like fucking fan police. I'm not going to tell people what to do. But if I'm an Orioles fan right now, I feel like that's so disrespectful to have teams in my division, their fans rooting for you. That's disgusting.
Nobody root for the Yankees. Nobody.
No. Well, once.
Excuse me. Sorry, it took a fucking tragedy for that to happen. Excuse me. Sorry. Besides 2001, nobody would ever root for the Yankees ever. Mm-hmm. When have you ever heard a Red Sox fan, a Rays fan, an Orioles fan, or a Blue Jays fan say, you know what, I hope the Yankees win? No, the Orioles, we don't respect y'all. Or we haven't respected y'all in the past, to be fair. We haven't respected y'all. That's just what it is.
And they've got, listen, I thought when there were people who were saying this was the year for the Orioles preseason, I said it was next year. Clearly wrong.
Yeah.
They were awesome all year. I think they would be World Series favorites if they were more aggressive in the offseason or at the trade deadline. That is why
I don't give a fuck if they win or lose. It's that part. See? That part. Them boys won, 104 games, whatever, 102, 100 plus, whatever, however many they won. And the deadline, they were just like, yeah, we have a chance to win the championship. Yeah, we have a chance to do something that this team hasn't done in however long. You know what we're going to do? We're going to stand pat. For that alone, I hope they fight. Even though, granted, they traded for Jack Flaherty. Excuse me. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, they didn't. They didn't stay completely stagnant. They could have done more. And it really, to me, I understand, they've hit on so many prospects. I'm not just going to give them away if I'm them. But they did nothing in the offseason, and they could have done literally
the offseason was way more egregious. The offseason was so egregious. They did legitimately nothing.
Yeah.
They flirted with Carlos Rodon. That's about it. That's all they did.
And that bullet dodged, it looks like, at least through year one. I know. He had quite the last start to his season. I'm sure Yankee fans. Luckily, he didn't go full Evan Neal, but it was close.
The Evan Neal commentary was something. But yeah, Rodon, and imagine my plight, because I was trying to win a fantasy baseball championship, but I had him in my lineup. So I tune in. I tune into the game at the game started at 7:05. So I tune in at like 7:11. I went outside to get something. I come back 4-0. I'm like, oh my. And like
No
nobody.
outs.
So I'm just
Yeah,
like,
no
oh,
outs.
like that's what we're doing. 4-0, nobody out. I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, man. And then he proceeded to continue the theme of getting nobody out until he was out of the game with nobody. 8 earned runs in 0.0 innings. Like my brother, you could have just not showed up for all of that. Like legitimately not showed up. He got as many people out as me. Why? Right. Why even bother? Why bother?
He had some comments that said, because that was in Kansas City, right?
Yes, it was.
He had some comments that said, I'm not going to go back on the flight to New York. I've got a place outside of Kansas City where I'm just going to drive there. My family is not even there. I just need to be in the silence for a little bit. That
sounds so dark. I read that. I was like, that sounds so dark and dramatic. Like, I get it. He's had a bad year, and I'm not trying to tell nobody how to cope. All right, I get it. But man, how he sounded saying that shit was it sounded and felt so dark. Like, damn, man, I feel bad for this guy. This guy's going through it.
What's the vibe on him with Yankee fans? What else has come out since his last start? Because I know you've been pushing on this show for another starter, even without him being one of the worst pitchers in baseball this year. Like, assuming he comes back to form next year, which I think is probably more likely than him continuing to be terrible. Yes. But what's the general vibe with Carlos Rodon?
You're asking me what the vibe is among Yankee fans with a guy who had like a 6 ERA this year. What do you think the vibe? Nah, it's they don't like him, but to say the least, they're not big fans of him. People have thrown in the towel. You name it, they're not fucking with him. The whole him turning his back on Matt Blake, that didn't play well with Yankee fans because, fair or not, that kind of shit only flies when you were actually good. Like, sure. People, if he had a 3 ERA this year and did that shit, they'd be like, okay, that sucks, but he's been great for us all year. Blah blah blah. We forgive him. All that other nonsense. So like that didn't help his cause. His commentary after the season, people weren't big fans of that either. It's just they're not gonna like him until he performs. Like, it's really, they're not gonna. Hopefully he does, because he has 4 years up on his fucking deal. 4 or 5? 5. Excuse me.
I think 5. Yeah,
it's 5 years up on his deal. So if this goes south, it's gonna be a long 5 years for him, for me, for the fan base, for everybody involved. It's gonna be a long 5 years if this shit doesn't turn around. I think the reality of him as a pitcher lies somewhere between this, whatever the fuck this year is that you call it, and what he was the previous 2 years. How close it is to the previous 2 years, that's going to shape how much the fan base likes him, because there's stuff to like about the guy, but
for sure,
you like that stuff when it comes with a pitcher that's good or a player that's good. You like the fire when the guy is good. When he's not good, it just comes off like he's running his mouth. Then nobody, like, we don't care about how fiery you are when you're giving up 6 earned runs every other start. We don't care. That's just not how this works.
So I've seen a lot of people talk about, and these are all national people, talking about how the Red Sox and Yankees fans talk about how it takes a certain type of player to play in these markets, which is true. I don't care what anyone else thinks. I'm sure you could probably toss the Phillies into this as well.
The Philly fans kind of got soft these days, though. But yeah, generally speaking, yeah.
Listen, what they did worked, so I can't knock on it too much. But
and I'm saying people should point to that. Like, hey, positivity works sometimes, not all the time, but it works sometimes.
Not all the time. No, not all the time.
Sometimes.
A quick side note: the Phillies didn't let in that guy with the emotional support alligator. Did you see that?
No.
There was a guy who tried to go to a game last week of the season, and he had an alligator with him, and he was trying to get into the stadium, and they didn't let him in. While I understand why they didn't let this man in, We've seen curses for way less than letting a guy with an alligator in. You need, if you're head of security there, you need to have more baseball knowledge. The Cubs didn't win because they didn't let a goat in. All I'm saying, Philly's got a lot of good vibes going on. Not letting that alligator in. I've seen worse, is all I'll say. I've seen a lot worse.
We as a collective, we're gonna remember this in 2047 when there's another Steve Bartman episode that just happens to be the Citizens Bank instead. we gonna remember this. We gonna remember this.
But back to the mentality thing, I think it was Chris Towers say that the Red Sox and Yankees need to do a better job identifying who these guys are before signing them. And I can't think of something more difficult. Like, is that a question? Do you ask? Get like, hey, you're fucking pussy? Like, what do you mean? What does that mean?
Pussy is so funny. Hey, Joey, hey. Answer this for me, yo. You pussy? Like, that's so funny. No, I saw that tweet. And I'm like, on one end, it's a perfectly reasonable thing to say.
Definitely.
On another end, it's a fucking impossible exercise. Like, what are you supposed to do? Some guys might think they're built for it, and they say the right shit, and then they're not. Like, you can't really, like with the Joey Gallo thing. Like, here's the thing with Joe. Fuck his mentality for a minute, right? Yankee fans were always going to hate that kind of player. That one was kind of obvious. Like, they were always going to hate that kind of fucking player. So you brought him in, and then, like, it didn't go well immediately, and then it just, okay, he's striking out 40% of his at-bats. They were always going to hate him. That was fucking obvious, right?
Right.
But like, the other, like, Sonny Gray, for example, granted, that one's complicated, but there was no way to say, like, oh, well, this guy wasn't going to come here and have an 8 ERA, and Yankees say even a 2 ERA on the road. Nobody knew that. Like, there was no way to fucking know this stuff. And then he's been fine since he left. Pitched a good game today. He's been fine since he left. So it's no way to know. But, like, the idea that fans wear that as some kind of badge of honor is so fucking weird. Like, why are you proud of being toxic? Why? Like, yo, you got to be able to play in front of us. You got to be able to be built this way to play in front of us. Like, is that technically true? Yes. Are you championing toxicity? Also, yes. Why are you proud to be toxic? Like, if you go 1 for 30, we're gonna boo your ass off the field. You're proud of this? Like, that's something you're happy about? Like, this is cool to you? Why?
I've never viewed it as proud to be toxic as much as I viewed it as the games mean more here. Like, game 67 means more than game 67 of White Sox Royals. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I've always viewed it. I'm sure, Yankee fans are terrible people, so I'm sure that's how they mean it, but us Bostonians,
Red Sox fans aren't terrible people.
But the way I used to think of it being like fail proof is Carl Crawford. Carl Crawford used to come to Fenway Park, rake, steal 7 bases a game. When he hit free agency, I was like, of course this guy is going to be fine. We've seen it. He's played in the AL East his whole career. What could go wrong? And everything went wrong immediately. Like, he forgot how to play defense.
Playing that shit every day, man.
Yeah, it just didn't work. And Adrian Gonzalez, same offseason. He's brought in from an equally shit scenario in San Diego. And he's unbelievable. Like, maybe should have won MVP that year. And then when the Red Sox lose the way they lost, blames God. And people, you don't remember that?
No.
So he's doing his last interview of the season. The Red Sox blew, I think it was the largest or second largest September division lead in MLB history that year. And after the season, I'm pretty sure he's standing by his locker room. And someone goes like, what do you think of the collapse? And he just goes, it's not what God wanted. God didn't want us in the playoffs. Done. I think he hit like 330 that year.
You know what? I'm going to take a different route, and I'm going to make this quick. I'm not going to derail the show, but I respect that shit. You know why? Because it's about time somebody attributes negativity to God. It's about time. Everything positive happens, it's God's plan. Like, negative shit happens, it's just, we just didn't do enough. How come God, where was God for y'all this time? I'm glad he said that shit. It wasn't in God's plan. Yes, Adrian. Yes. Now I don't know how true that is, but sure, man, go for it. Speak your
I
truth.
don't I don't care if God himself was standing behind Adrian Gonzalez and was like, yeah, it just wasn't in the cards for y'all this year. You can't say
Oh
that.
yeah, no, you
Like,
can say that. Oh, for
can
sure.
you imagine if Glaber said that this year for his last? Like, people would want him dead. People would want him dead in the
People
streets.
want dead now.
Right.
People want dead now. I can't imagine the kind of things that would be said about Glaber if you ever say, you know what, God just didn't want it for us this year. Oh boy, I can't imagine the kind of things that would be said. Oh, buddy.
And he was gone. Like, he wasn't the same player at the beginning of next year. I'm pretty sure spring training peppered him with questions about God. And he was bad that first half of the season in 12. And then him and Crawford and Nick Punto and Josh Beckett were shipped the fuck out of here. That post deadline, that waiver was, all of them went on waivers, all of them went to the Dodgers. So that's like, it's not even just a mentality thing, because I've seen JD Drew flourish here. I have no idea what JD Drew's voice sounds like. Not a clue. Couldn't even ballpark it.
Yeah.
No idea. And then I've seen people like Carl Everett, who's a lunatic, come in here and do, like, all these guys do well. I've seen so many different types of personalities flourish here. I've seen quiet guys. I've seen loud guys. I've seen lunatics. I've seen, like, actually bad people. I've seen great people. All of them have flourished and all of them have failed. So that's where it's like, if we get to a point where we can draw someone's blood, put it under a microscope, and be like, he's got the big market gene, great. Until then, it's a crapshoot.
It really is. It really is. Like you've seen hyper competitive guys fail. You've seen guys who are quiet succeed. Like it, just like you said, man. There's been a whole bunch of different type of people who have succeeded, a whole bunch of different type of people who have failed. So just like, yeah, can you do a better job? I guess maybe it. It just feels like a big ass guessing game to me. Some guys are going to handle it well. Some guys are not.
Like, we're talking all stars. Like, if I'm thinking of, like, some of the early people who had anxiety before it was, it's weird to say, socially acceptable. Like, if Ankiel had that start to his career for either of these two teams, he doesn't come back as an outfielder. We never hear from that guy again.
Yeah.
Greinke, when Greinke came up, he was awesome, got the yips, had to go back down on the minors, came back, and has had, like, a Hall of Fame career. That doesn't happen in one of these markets. It just doesn't. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that doesn't happen.
Well, it's true. No, it's true. We can acknowledge the daily pressures of playing here, because it's not, this is not Kansas City where game 4 doesn't matter.
Right.
It just doesn't. Like, y'all make a playoff run every now and again. Okay, cool. Those games matter, and it's just not the same. Like July games, you go 0 for 5 or 4 Ks. Like you're not pulling up to your locker with 17 microphones around. Like that's just not how it works in Pittsburgh. It's not how it works in KC. Like, yes, it absolutely is different here to a degree. It is. I do think like Joey Gallo has become like the famous example of this. The problem with that is Joey Gallo was in the middle of a really, really good year when he got traded here. He sucked since. Like,
Right.
he's been in 3 different places. So it's not like I think he just had a volatile profile, offensively anyway.
For sure.
He had a volatile profile, and he's declined. I think that is the biggest thing that happened with him, because he's in fucking Minnesota now. He didn't even play today. He didn't play either of the 2 games, if I'm not mistaken. And I follow a few Twins fans. They're like, listen, if I never see Joey Gallo take another at bat, I'll be fine. I'll be good, all set. Like,
The weirdest part wasn't his bat declining. He went from, like, didn't he win a Gold Glove his last year in Texas?
he did.
And then he was dropping, like, routine pop flies.
What was fun, and I can't tell you what the difference is between right field and left field.
Right.
Well, I can. One is right, one is left. But that aside, I don't know if you're a Gold Glove right fielder, that left field should spook you the way it spooked Gallo, because when he played in right, he was fine. He was fine. Then they put him at left. It was like he didn't know. It looked like he never fucking played baseball before. Sometimes,
Right.
like, but you are a premium athlete. We've seen you win a Gold Glove in right field. You were one of the best defenders in the sport. Now he puts you in left. You're kicking baseballs. You're doing all kind of dumb shit in left field, and it's like, is that part of the mental game? Like, or is that
it has to be?
Has to be, because it's left field compared to right field. It's not like they put him at third, where it's like, okay, that's a little bit different. Okay, it's right field and left field.
Right. Yeah, you're playing short for us now, Joey. Figure it out.
Right. Right. Like, it's not right field to third. It's not right field to second. It's right field to left.
Yeah, it's, if anyone out there can figure out what it takes, great. I'm all ears. Because the Yankees,
I'd love to hear how we're gonna find out if they got that dog in them. I'd love to figure that out.
right?
That would be a very valuable exercise for everybody in sports. Like, oh, we got to figure out if this guy got that dog in him. Yeah, let's give him a blood test. Like, how are you supposed to figure this out?
Maybe the Yankees have cracked the code. We talked about at probably the first or second episode that the Yankees were going to bring in an outside consulting firm to go through, open all the drawers, rummage through the cabinets, and find out what's wrong with the analytics. And then Hal said, "Nope, that's not what we said at all. We're going to do a much more complicated, useless exercise." And what are they actually doing?
I have no fucking idea. The story went. Let me pull up. Okay, so the Yankees are not inviting any outside consultants in to audit the Orioles. But you said you were, and bro, it's so fresh that we all remember the quote. It's not like you said this shit in April. Whole lot of shit has happened.
Very recent.
It was September, if I'm not fucking mistaken. It was in September this was said, and now we're going back on that. Like, do I think that this is some massive deal? Probably not. But it's like, if you've clearly identified that you have a problem, correct? Like, I feel like that's the common sense way to view this. Your actions have told us you think you have a problem, or you think that you have a substandard way of viewing analytics or applying them, or however you want to go with that, right? So your answer is you're going to pay for an outside firm. They're going to pay to view how an outside firm runs analytics, and then comparing that to the way that they operate in the area. If you have a problem, how the fuck do you know what to look for? Like, that's the thing. How do you know what to look for if you are readily admitting that you don't have it? How do you then know what to look for?
I think in Hal's mind, he's like, we're going to watch someone else and we're going to fix them, actually. Like, we're going to tell them how to do it the right way. Like, they're going to end up paying us when it's all said and done.
And it's like, Hal, I don't think that's how this is going to go, buddy. They don't have the problem. You have acknowledged that you do. I don't think this is going to work where they're going to end up paying you or patting you on the back.
But also, what does that mean? Like, it's not as if they're going to go to like a H&R Block and look at their analytics. Like, they're not going to pay the Astros. Like, they can't pay another baseball team to look at their baseball analytics. So what does that mean? They're going to go to like Chase Bank. Like, where are they going to audit? What are they going to?
That's another thing. Like, who are you going to try and model yourself after? Because it's not like you could break into the race facility and be like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna look at, like, no, that's not gonna work. The Astros are not gonna let you look at their shit. They're not gonna let you cheat off their paper. So what exactly are you? Who are you modeling yourself after? Because at last I checked, you're a baseball team. They didn't play like it for a lot of this year, but they're a baseball team. So you would think that you would be looking at other baseball teams. Problem is, they're not going to let you do that. So. No. Who exactly are you looking at to model yourself after?
Like the Knicks? Like, that's the thing. There's no good team close that they could do. Like, on another sport, there's nothing they could do on that front. Like, they don't.
Whoa. We're not going to disrespect the Liberty like this.
Liberty have been great.
We're not going to disrespect.
Liberty have been great.
Thank you. Shout out to Liberty.
Best basketball team in New York since Ewing was drafted.
Facts, sadly. Yes, facts.
But in outside of them, there's no one in New York, and this is where Like when the Red Sox own Liverpool, they could look at how they do things. The Yankees own the Yankees, so I
I
have
don't know.
no idea what
I
they're
have no
talking
idea.
about.
Like I'm sure they have a plan. Might be a bad
Based
one.
on what?
I, fair rebuttal. I don't know what I'm basing it off of. I'm just, you know what? I don't know if they have a plan. Assuming they have one is a foolhardy exercise based on what we know about Hal and them. Because I mean, shit, Hal just contradicted the fuck out of himself within like 2 weeks. So you know what? Maybe they don't have a plan. But I will say this from that piece where they were talking about this. There's one, and granted, this is one of those I believe what I want to believe from Andy Martino because
Sure.
I don't really fuck with that guy's work like that. But he says, um, as far as analytics, the Yankees are more moderate than some clubs in this area, which leads me to, can y'all stop using analytics as the fucking boogeyman for everything you don't like? Like, please, I'm begging you to stop. Like, the Yankees have showed you for now 2-3 years, based on what we know about analytics and what we see the good analytic teams do, that the Yankees are not on the same type of time, bro.
Oh.
Like an analytically savvy team, and I'm not even piling on this guy because I like to. An analytically savvy team is not giving DJ LeMahieu 6 years at age 32. No, an analytically savvy team is not being like, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna start IKF a short all year. They're not doing that. Like they're not, signing Jose Trevino. Granted, his defense is great, so sure that could go either way. Their offense, they went from, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna try and hit less home runs. What analytically savvy team have you ever seen that says that? Like they might go for a guy who might not be the 40 home run guy, but you know he can still pop out 20, like an Alex Bregman type. Alex Bregman never projected to be some big home run hitter. He hit 41 in the rabbit ball year. That doesn't even fucking count. Whatever. Like he never, but he was a guy who, hey man, he will take his fucking walks. He will get on base and he will play good defense. The Yankees have not targeted those kind of players for now 2 years, and they have targeted quite a few players who don't have any power. So it's just knock it off. Stop. Like stop blaming analytics for fucking everything. If the Yankees were more analytically savvy, they probably would have been playing today, or maybe not. Shit, they might have won a division. I don't fucking know. A lot of the moves they've done for now 2-3 years have told you what kind of time the Yankees are on and exactly why an audit is needed.
And it's also, I think it's like a quiet part of why Heim got fired is he was openly saying like the Red Sox rested on their laurels analytically. They were at the forefront of this shit in the early 2000s. You see what happens. And then they rested on their laurels towards the teens, and the rest of the league caught up and passed them. And he said that all year, kind of just being like, I've done a lot of shit that you won't really reap the benefits of because it's happening at such a micro level in terms of single, double, and triple A.
Right.
I keep coming back to this one quote I read. I think The Athletic had it talking about Shane Drone, who is in triple A. He was one of the fastest risers this year in the system. He's a starting pitcher. And one of the things he said that tells me a lot about the Red Sox, who haven't developed a pitcher since John Lester, like a quality starting pitcher since John Lester. Brian Bale looks like he's on the way, but that's still, even if he is, what a gap.
Yes.
And Shane Drone said, I've been throwing my changeup wrong. I've just been throwing my fastball slower, which is something people usually get ironed out when they're like 14.
Yeah, insane quote from an adult.
For a double A pitcher at the time. But I remember that's what I thought when I was in Little League. Like, oh, yeah, changeup. You just change up how fast it is. Even though I was watching Pedro, the greatest changeup pitcher of all time, And his whole thing was, I'm just going to wrap my whole hand around the ball. Well, I couldn't do that. So I was like, I'll just throw it slower, not understanding the reason Pedro's changeup's so deadly is because he's throwing it exactly as fast out of his hand as he's throwing his fastball. It just dies because of all the friction he's creating with his hand. That's what my 12-year-old brain couldn't wrap my head around. And that's what the Red Sox analytics department couldn't wrap their head around pre-Heim, because Drone was going out there throwing his changeup and giving up like a 960 OPS until this year, because someone actually finally heard him say that out loud and fixed it. They actually started looking at what pitches were and weren't working for guys in their organization and being like, well, let's talk about this. Why isn't it working? Oh, you're doing everything technically sound? Well, just get rid of that pitch. It's not for you. Not everyone has every pitch in their arsenal. Everyone should know that by now. And guys come to pitches, you'll see top level guys either change their grip or add a new pitch. Everyone else, like Edison Volquez, I remember when he first hit the scene, he had 2 pitches and he threw them both extremely effectively. And it worked at first, it worked at second, and then year 3 he was dog shit. And then he finally got back to that form. But when you only have 2 pitches, you know what that is? That's a reliever. That's a reliever. And we talked about at the top of the show with Duran and Bautista, guys like that. Could be an extremely effective guy for 1 inning. When you're a starter, you need to have more than 2. More often than not. There are rare cases where some guys get away with 2.
Yeah, Jacob deGrom is a cyborg, so yeah, he can do whatever he wants, especially when he's dotting 98 on the corner all the time. He can do whatever he wants.
Right. But guys come to learn pitches, from what I've seen anecdotally, just fucking around with their friends. Everyone I knew growing up wanted to throw a knuckle curve, and we all tried it, and we all tried different grips. Some people could do it, most of us couldn't. How many kids are actually sitting with a coach, a pitching coach, and learning different grips, learning correct grips, learning different ways to throw the ball, learning release points, learning extension? The Red Sox weren't doing any of that shit. None of it. They were just like, oh, you stink? Must be a you problem. And meanwhile, no one's getting to the major league level. And when they do, they're getting fucking shelled. So it's like, what? Of course it's not. You think all of these pitchers are bad? You think you're that bad at picking pitchers? No. You're bad. You're bad at coaching. You're bad at teaching. You're bad at looking at data and trying to figure out why it isn't working. And you saw it this year with Bayo at the big league level. He changed his curveball. He changed the plane of it. He changed the grip of it. Changed the speeds of it. And the next step for him is not throwing his four-seamer down in the zone. Because when he throws it belt to knees, it gets teed off on. When he throws it belt to letters, it's maybe his best pitch. So that's the next step, making sure all that gets to the major league level. I know Cora's not analytics averse, so that's where it's like, where's the breakdown of communication happening?
Also, a side note, George Kirby just randomly breaking out a knuckleball at the start of the year. It's very funny, by the way. Just randomly just, all right, man, I'm just going to throw this knuckleball that I've been working on. And I forget who, I think it was Corey Seager he threw it against, and Corey Seager missed that shit by a mile. That shit by a mile, rightfully, because, like, who the fuck would be expecting a knuckleball?
Who was it that threw 2 consecutive ephuses to A-Rod?
El Duque.
Well, that's what I thought it was, but since they were both Yankees, that's why I was like, it couldn't have been.
A-Rod hit one of the longest home runs I've ever seen. Like, one of the longest. I remember watching the game, and, like, I saw it through the first one, I'm like, interesting strategy.
He just took it, right? The first one?
Oh, you said what?
A-Rod just took the first one, right? He didn't swing? Yeah,
he took the first one. And I'm like, all right, interesting strategy. Then I saw the ball go up again. I'm like, oh, he's about to tee off. Buddy did he. That is one of the longest home runs I've ever seen in that place. 2 straight ephus pitches. Like, interesting.
A-Rod always had a big leg kick, but on that ephus, I feel like he'd need himself in the nose because he was just like, I want a little extra power on this one. And then
that's one of the most, like, so I'm pussy pitches that I've ever seen. So give it the context, like, oh, you think you gonna throw me 2 straight? Oh, so you really think I'm pussy? Like, all right, fine. And then he just said, no, I'm not, and just hit the ball roughly 700 feet. give or take a few.
Maybe we should talk about that A-Rod home run, not in the same breath, but in a similar breath to Randy Johnson killing that bird with a pitch. Like, that's how funny it was.
It
Like,
was so funny. It was like I'm a Yankees fan. I didn't like what other teams scored back then. I mean, I still don't. But like I used to be
sure.
really mad about it. I just looked at that shit. I was like, I laughed. It was funny. Like what? It was funny. He threw 2 straight 40-mile-an-hour pitches. Of course, this shit is funny.
Insane. He'll never see this one coming. Even if he didn't, there's so much time to react.
Right. Like if he was confused briefly, like he has a lot of time to adjust. A lot of time.
Oh, it's still not even at its apex. All right, let me reset. Let me.
Like, oh, I
Very
wasn't
funny.
expecting that again. Like, okay, I got time. Then, wow.
But Kirby broke out the knuckleball, talking about the ephus, talking about pitches I know everyone has tried to throw. Rest in peace, Tim Wakefield. It sucks that I can't just say that without also saying this. Fuck Kurt Schilling. Just a tremendous piece of shit human being. Keeps just digging deeper, and not that he can ever get out of the hole he's dug himself, but just keeps getting deeper. I remember when I was a security guard outside Fenway, the Baseball Tonight set. This was 2012, 2013. It had to have been 2013 because the Red Sox were in the playoffs. So it was a playoff game. I was working out on Jersey Street, then Yawkey Way, and I was right outside. I was watching, like, they had me stationed at the Baseball Tonight outside playoff set that they do for everyone. So they're outside the stadium. It was Schilling, it was Barry Larkin, it was Ravitch. I can't remember who the fourth was, but it's them four. And when you're on TV working outside like that, they give you the earpieces that block out any crowd noise. So anytime you see those live sets and they'll like pretend to act with the crowd, they don't hear shit. They can't. They because you'd never be able to do the show. Like you need to have all the sound blocked out, and you can only hear the other people, the director, the producer, all that. I've never seen. There had to have been a Yankee up there because that's what made it so shocking. But I've never seen so much hate for a player in Boston as I saw for Kurt Schilling on that night. People were walking by, and by this point, all he had done was bankrupt Rhode Island. That was all that was on his post career resume at this point. He hadn't been kicked off ESPN yet for being a racist towards Muslims. He hadn't threatened to lynch journalists yet. He didn't come out and give away Tim Wakefield's personal break HIPAA on behalf of Tim Wakefield's personal medical issues going on. All he had done at this point was bankrupt the state of Rhode Island trying to make a video game. And not Jeter, not A-Rod, not any Yankee, none have I heard worse than I heard what I heard towards Kurt Schilling that night. And it's all deserved. Like we talked about not being proud of the toxicity earlier. Very proud that night. You can say what you want about the city of Boston.
Yes.
When a real piece of shit comes through, we let him hear about it.
I'm proud of y'all too, man. That's great work. Because the fact that he revealed that info was just like, bro, I saw the initial tweet and then I'm like, that just doesn't feel like something you should be saying. This like, even if they didn't explicitly say, "Hey, man, don't do that," right. It just feels like something common sense dictates that you probably should just keep that to yourself. Especially given that, obviously, God rest his soul, he died like 3 days later. It wasn't
very shortly after. Very shortly.
Like it was right. It wasn't new. So like this was they knew this stuff and they didn't want to fucking reveal it. So why the fuck would you? I mean, we know why. Because he's a fucking asshole.
He wants the attention.
Yeah. And it's like, there are so many ways. I would rather you just keep being racist. As wild a sentence as that is to say. But seriously, though, we know you're a racist.
Yeah, keep throwing the same pitch. Yeah.
Right. The fastball's working for you, sir. Like, we don't need a changeup. We don't need a curveball. They have missed 8 straight fastballs that they've swung at. Like, we don't need anything more than that, bro. We got it. We know what you're about. We know what you do. Just stick with that. He then did whatever the fuck he did. And it's like,
through the ephus. Yeah, he threw the fucking ephus.
Just continue being fucking racist, bro. Like, we know that. We have it on record. Just that doesn't surprise anybody, and it don't affect anybody because, again, we know that you're a fucking racist. You know you're a racist, clearly, and you have no problem spewing racist rhetoric. So just keep doing that.
I've never seen someone go from, like, would never have to. He could have bankrupted the state of Rhode Island and still just walked into any restaurant in Boston and gotten everything paid for because of 04.
Yep.
And he was like, I don't want any of that. I don't want to be lionized. I don't want to be considered a hero. I don't want to be
beloved. Bro, you know how bad a person you got to be to talk yourself out of the Hall of Fame? Think about that. Because there's a lot of bad people in the Hall of Fame, dog.
For sure.
Of bad people in the Hall of Fame. Do you know how bad you have to be to actively talk yourself out of the Hall of Fame? Seriously. Because the argument against Kurt Schilling being in the Hall of Fame is damn sure not about baseball. We all know this. And he's not in the Hall of Fame simply because he is an insufferable dickhead to the highest degree.
Yeah, I mean, as good of a postseason pitcher as has ever lived, and a damn fine regular season pitcher, and just like, I don't know how you share a locker room with Pedro Ortiz, Manny. Like, Boston gets this rep as a white city. I understand it. I know what the crowds look like, but rarely white teams, you know what I mean? So I don't know how he was here till like fucking 08. He wasn't here for just 04. He was here for a while. I don't know how, like, that locker room was tenable. I don't know how he was able to just, like, exist. You know what I mean? In baseball, it's a more of a white sport than obviously basketball and football, but it's not crazy white. Like, there's also the whole world plays baseball. That's what it's like. I don't understand how I don't want to say kept it under wraps, because I don't know what happened in locker rooms and shit like that, but there was nothing I remember ever coming out while he was playing. It was always just the second he retired. He was like, by the way, here's this fun fact about
me. He took the Michelle Tafoya route, except he just kept going. Like, we didn't know shit about Michelle Tafoya. Then it came out she a nutcase after the fact. Like, she just left her high-paying ass job and was like, yeah, I want to spew my rhetoric, baby. Fuck the millions. Like, I was like, all right, Michelle, you got it.
It's insane. It's, even if you, like, I don't want to say I want these people to keep it hidden, because I think that's what happened for a long time and then it boiled over. But at a certain point, are you just like, hey, being a good person makes me very wealthy. Why wouldn't I actually just consider that side of things? Why? Let's do some auditing, like the Yankees. Let's do some auditing here and figure out, like, hey, maybe these guys got it figured out. Maybe I don't have to be a shithead.
Listen, I respect being open about your racism more than hiding the shit. Like, I'd rather you just write it on your forehead. Yeah, I'm a racist.
Sure.
Instead of just hiding that shit. But I'll never understand how people are just so hateful that they can't even keep it to themselves, to a point where like you have. There was that one dude who, I forget what it was, what job he had, but he ended up getting outed as a racist, and they fired him like immediately, and I don't think he ever caught on again in whatever field it was. I don't remember what it was. But it's like,
are you talking about the Estee Lauder guy who shared the meme?
Yes, bro. Yes, him. Yes, exactly him. Yes, and it's like, all you had to do was not say that. Like, all you had to do. Nobody forced you to tweet that shit. All you had to do was not tweet that shit.
To be fair to him, his meme was so specific. Me and Tyler joke about this all the time. He said my Snuffy caught the Rona at a Chingy concert. There's no one racist in 2021 who knows who Chingy is. Not one. Not a one. I like
fair counterpoint.
No, I also saw no one mad about this. We learned about it after the fact. He just posted this meme.
That's true. That's true. And listen, of all the results to happen, like of all the things we see tweeted on social media every single day, that being the one where just like, hey man, we fuck this guy. It's kind of wild in retrospect, but all you had to do was not post it.
But that's like we did a deep dive on his, because he posted on Instagram, and his Instagram was just meme central. Like that guy just lived to post memes, and I don't know why. Like he was getting, I think it was 10 mil a year to be like the European vice president of Estee Lauder, which is a massive like makeup, skincare, beauty company. Mm-hmm. There was no outrage to fire this man. He was just fired, and then the story came out what he did. And the story is so fun. Like if something's so funny that everyone's laughing about it, or completely ignoring it because they don't care. Like I've never seen, other than me, I don't know a single white person who knows this story. It's like you have to be criminally online, and if you saw it, you were probably black, and you were probably like, that's very, like, it makes no sense. I don't know why Snuffy from Sesame Street was at a Chingy concert in post-Rona times, and also caught the Rona there so much that he was hospitalized upon an incubator. It's just such an outrageous series. Like, when it's that funny, you should get not only your job back, but a raise of some sort. Because he needed to have been on a podium somewhere explaining how that came to be. That's the part of him being fired that I hate. Where did he see this? Does he know One Call Away? Has he sang Holiday Inn? Like, well, I need to know so much about this man. And they just fired him in the middle of the night, and we got no answers. I have answers or questions.
Citing Chingy in 2021 is that's a choice. That's a choice, and I like some of the Chingy songs, man. But 2021, like
he had a run. Chingy had quite a run.
He did, and it's like you in the belly of COVID at a Chingy concert. Like of all the concerts to be at, Chingy in the middle of COVID. That's insane behavior.
There's no way Chingy's performed within the last 5 years. There's just no way.
None. Zero shot.
Like, if I imagine he's like this isn't even an American person who posted it. Like, there's so many levels to it where it's just like, maybe he's like, I don't want to give him the benefit of the doubt. He could very well be racist, but I just need to know what the start of this. Well, I saw a thread today where it was two women going back and forth, like just at each other's throats. And I saw it earlier in the day and I ignored it. And then I saw it later in the day, quote tweeted with, "You guys are never going to believe what started this." And so I did the thing where I clicked on every quote until I finally got back to the origin. And I was like, all right, you've got 5 more clicks before I stop caring about this. And the very first tweet was just like, do you guys like grape or strawberry jam? That was what set it up. What? They were just adding someone like one of them said like I prefer blackberry preserves, and then the other woman quote tweeted that with like 2 + 2 = apple, and then that was it. They were just off. They were just ready for death.
I will say, man, pressing all them quotes to get back to the origin. First of all, I've gotten with that a few times because they've had those where it's just stupid ass quote after stupid ass quote, and you just keep going. And the thing is, I'm a maniac, so like when I start something and I commit a certain amount of time to it, right, I have to finish it. That's just how I am. I once watched an 18-inning World Series game with my team not in it, like from minute 1 to the game. That was like a 7-hour baseball game, and I watched every single pitch. So, like, that's just how I'm wired. Like, once I start, I'm like, okay, I'm going to get to the end of this. like there's never been a like they got 3 more quotes. It's just like, oh my god, can y'all get to the fucking end of this shit, please, please.
That one I knew would be so stupid to cause the fight that had broken out. I was like, I'll stick with it because I know that quote tweet had like 700 retweets at that point. So I knew enough other soldiers had made it to the end. So I was like, I know there's a finish line here. But that's
and it got to be good if 700 people retweet.
Right.
It right. Be.
But yeah, that's the best. I mean, it was a funny day today between that. People thinking the zombie chips were going to get activated. I need those conspiracy theorists to be right one of these times. They've had such a tough stretch here. They've been 0 for. Joey Gallo is better for the Yankees than the conspiracy theorists have been for the last 3 fucking years.
All right.
They've been off. Just haven't been close. Haven't been close to anything. But
so necessary.
A true, since we got the fuck Kurt Schilling portion out of the way, a genuine rest in peace to Tim Wakefield. Because that extremely unfortunate. He was in his 50s. I thought he was in his 40s, but since he threw a knuckleball, he played forever. He got those 200 wins. I think the most wins, at least in the modern era, by a Red Sox pitcher, just because he just kept going.
Tim Wakefield is the only Red Sox player I've ever remotely felt bad for due to the result of a baseball game, and it's the obvious one that I'm going to go with is Game 7, and it's like he had pitched so well before then, and then it's just like none of that mattering anymore is tough. That's tough. Like I felt like very, very small portion of me obviously felt bad. I was like, damn, that kind of sucks for him, man. That sucks.
Well, because he threw exactly one pitch, and that was it. And we talked to him. Me and Jared had got to interview him a couple years ago, and I asked him about that because I was like, one, I can't imagine how that felt in the moment, but two, I hope you've had the time to reflect and realize everything that happened after that only happened because of that. Like all the success, all the immediacy of Theo that offseason. I mean, it was fucking Thanksgiving, and he was like, "We're adding, we're going to be better next year." So and he's for sure very at peace with it. The fact that they won the next year had to have been such a relief for him personally, because yeah, that's like when you're staring down 85 years at that point of drought, and you're that close against the team, your biggest rival, and Aaron fucking Boone of all people goes up there and just kind of like the A-Rod Ephus pitch, was just sitting on it.
Yep.
That knuckleball did. It followed a flight path that so few do. Like it kind of moved like an Ephus. It was just straight up and down. Boone turned on it, and that's it. That was as influential of a singular pitch in baseball over the last 20 years as any I can remember. Any.
We're talking about the knuckleball as a whole?
No. That pitch to Aaron Boone, like the chain reaction it set off. I don't know that there's another pitch, and I'm sure someone's going to be like, well, what about this fucking one Jason Schmidt threw against the Rockies? And I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Like, I don't know.
Such a random name to bring up, man.
Great pitcher. I'm sure he had a lot of really good pitches.
Very random.
But he throws that pitch and ends the series. Joe Buck hasn't even come back from commercial yet. Like he's still doing
barely.
Like he's still doing that, and he's like, "Well, my night's over."
Bro, he was doing the "woe is me" Boston routine, and then middle of the people from Boston knowing that they had sick. Boone hit him in the deep left, and it was like, there it is, like mid sentence, and it was gone.
And like they don't even have the score bug up yet. It's so mediocre.
None of that.
The Red Sox start making all these moves. The Yankees, and they trade for A-Rod. If people haven't seen the 30 for 30 did a series of shorts, things that were good ideas but couldn't be fleshed out for a full hour. I don't even know if people know about them because I think they only ever lived digitally. They have one on the A-Rod trade. It's like 15, 20 minutes long. And they're like, the Yankees never engage, ever. Because they have Aaron Boone, who's a hero. They're not looking to replace him. They've got Jeter, who they never replaced. They just moved A-Rod. And A-Rod wasn't super interested in the Yankees at that point. And the Red Sox trade for Alex Rodriguez. Like all sides agree. The Red Sox sign it. A-Rod signs it. And the Players Association, because the Red Sox didn't do the thing the Yankees ultimately did, which was have the Rangers pay half his salary, which I still can't believe that happened. The Red Sox.
Insane. Clear best player in baseball. It's like, yeah, we're going to make you pay half his shit anyway. It's like, wow, for real?
Rangers like, sounds good. The Red Sox had him rework his contract so it was less, and the Players Association understandably was like, we can't let that slide. Like, he's the highest paid guy. We can't set the precedent that teams can renegotiate that. So the deal died. But I can't, like, the Red Sox reacted so swiftly to that pitch. And then, of course, Aaron Boone decides he's a basketball player, tears his ACL, and the Yankees trade for A-Rod.
Aaron Boone changed history in so many ways. In what, 6 months or 7 or whatever it was.
It was like 3 months. It was, I think it was January. He did that.
October, yeah, right. It was more like, he changed history in so many ways, and he still got a job because of it.
Still,
and
it's come out that they anticipate no moves with Cashman or Boone, so the Yankees aren't serious in 24. I appreciate that. The Red Sox still have no chief baseball officer, GM, any of that, so I don't know what they're waiting for at all. I think they may still be trying to, like, Cora gets asked every day if he's going to do it, and he's like, not yet, which is kind of brutal for whoever they do hire, because it's like you have the manager who they clearly love vying for your job already.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Not yet is a crazy answer to that question. Like if I'm thinking about interviews, like, do I really want to do this with Alex Cora nipping at my heels potentially? I don't know if I want to do this.
You have, and I love Cora. This isn't anti-Cora, but it's like, you can't fire him. He just outlasted the last guy. And he also, if you get fired, he's probably, like, not yet means next. Like, after whoever gets it. Like, what if the next guy's great? What if the next guy's unbelievable?
I mean, they just fired Bloom after what, 2 years?
20. He brought in, I think it was December 19. Okay, so he had that whole, yeah.
Right. But they fired him after basically not loosening up the purse strings and saying, hey, man, you know what your first order of business is going to be? Trade Mookie Betts. That's what we want you to do. We want you to be the guy who traded Mookie Betts. Nasty work.
Disgusting.
Nasty work.
But I do love Cora. I'm not against him doing it right now. I'm sure he's talked to Brad Stevens, because all the coaches here are weirdly close. I'm sure he's talked to Brad Stevens about that transition. Brad Stevens may be like the best GM in sports. I don't. He just keeps doing stuff.
He made the right choice, or the Celtics made it. I don't know how that went. If that was mutual. Whoever it was a really good decision. Brad is really good at GMing. Really good at it.
Shockingly good. So I don't. Baseball's obviously more layered than basketball when it comes to that job, but
for sure,
I'm sure he's getting some good advice. I think Cora wants to win one more title, or at least compete for one more title as a manager before he makes that switch. But again, I just don't know. If you're good enough to win another World Series, you would think that GM would have a longer leash.
Yeah, you would think.
Now, Dombrowski,
like, not yet. And then you're like, oh, what that mean?
Dombrowski got ousted like a year and a half after winning one. So, or the next season. Yeah, the next season he gets fired. So who knows? Who fucking knows? But it's hard for me to have a full understanding. The only thing I'm certain of this offseason is they'll spend money. Whether or not it'll be good money on good players, very much remains to be seen.
I need them to trade Marcelo Meyer. That's what I need.
I wouldn't rule it out. I know
Trade
Nightingale.
Meyer. The Roman
Nightingale
Anthony kid, trade him too.
No, they've already been walking Roman Anthony around Fenway. He already looks like he's got like
I saw
league.
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh yeah, he gonna be one of them ones, huh? Like I know that story.
They had him dressed like he wasn't even being shown to be a Red Sox player. They were showing him like this is the guy who's going to be on Nesson after he's done playing. Like that's how they were walking him around. Like he's not just going to be here for 15 years playing. He's going to be here for the next 40 as a player and announcer.
Yeah,
like,
I saw that clip and I was like, oh, he's about to be annoying, isn't he? Like, that's the only thing that ran. Like he's about to be really annoying.
Yeah, Heim was really good at identifying hit tool in young like high schoolers. Like he knew the traits he was looking for. He hit them hard. He hit them frequently. And they're just burning up our minor leagues right now. So I'm very excited to watch them all come up, assuming like Nightingale's reporting, and Nightingale is an idiot, but he is right sometimes. He said the Red Sox would be one of the two teams most interested in Soto, which it would be hard for me to hate, but I also would just rather sign him next offseason and not trade the 5 prospects it's going to take to get him.
Here's the thing, and granted, maybe I am underestimating what his trade market would be, but he has 1 year left on his deal. I don't think he would cost that much. Maybe I'm tripping. It's very possible I'm tripping. I don't. Yes, you're. It's not a typical rental. Duh. Don't shit. Obviously, like you're gonna have to pay something you're probably not gonna want to give up. But like, do I think it would cost them? Like, if they let off with Meyer, I don't think it would cost that much more outside of him.
If you let off with him, I don't disagree. But the trade market's so interesting in the sense that it really goes up and down depending on what time of year it is.
Yep.
So like November, because like even a rise for Pablo Lopez, it was such a strange trade in the fact that it was major leaguer for major leaguer. I think the Marlins sent a minor leaguer with Pablo Lopez, but it was
Jose Salas.
Yeah, it was for all intents and purposes a 1-for-1, but it's like in the off season it goes for a guy with 1 year left on his deal, it goes down. But if all of a sudden it's the trade deadline and he's got months left, it goes up. Like it's And I get it. It's not that I don't get it. I do get it, but I find it hard to believe that the Padres would be operating under the mindset that the team trading for him wouldn't be trying to extend him also, which has to be factored in.
True.
Now, if they do it like the Red Sox did, like morons, and they're like, yeah, we actually don't want to pay you Darvish for the next 7 years, so then we're going to take shit prospects. Because the weirdest part about the Padres, they still have one of the 5 best farm systems in baseball. Like they traded for Soto, they still are loaded there.
Not much about the Padres actually makes sense. Like,
none of it
this year. Like you look at their team and it's like, how the fuck were y'all so bad?
Terrible.
Like,
Close games.
The record of 1-run games was one of the
hilarious.
Worst I've ever seen. Understood, but like still, like they had the Cy Young, have the Cy Young award winner. Soto did what Soto usually does. Tatis was regular good, not up to his standard, but really good. Machado was still good, albeit not up to his standard. On down the line, they still just stunk. But
terrible.
I don't think they're trading Soto until at minimum the deadline. Like up to the deadline. I can't see them trading him in the offseason. Although in this particular case, I could see why that could potentially net them a better return. Albeit, I understand the deadline, everybody's vying against each other. I get why maybe that would happen in that case. But the idea of having Soto for an entire year has to be, at the minimum, an entire year has to be extremely appealing. So we'll see what they do.
I think he was one of 4 players to play all 162 games this year. The only reason I think that the Padres would consider trading, 2 reasons. One, I do think they'll be active in the why am I blanking on the best player? Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes. I do think they'll be active in that. And if that's the case, then they probably would just be like, you know what, we have this guy for the next decade. We will trade Soto with Darvish just to get some money off our books and still get a prospect back as opposed to just trading Darvish. And B, it's like, to me, if they're saying they're going to trade him or even entertaining it, they don't think they're going to be able to re-sign him or even want to be in that conversation. And it's like, we know he's going to go to one of these 4 teams. Like, there's not going to be more than that genuinely involved in the Soto sweepstakes. Why not see if we can get the Dodgers or Red Sox, who have good farm systems, to overpay for this guy? And then we can just go out and get someone we think is as good, at least with the bat, in terms of Ohtani.
Just keep that man away from Boston. Nobody needs that. Like, I watched David Ortiz and I watched Manny Ramirez. I don't need a repeat of that. So please no. Even if it's not the Yankees, I obviously would prefer it to be the Yankees. Just please don't send one.
Sure, yeah,
I don't want that. I don't need that. That's stressful. Nobody wants that.
Would you? Is there anyone you wouldn't put on the table?
No.
Like if they said we need Volpe and Dominguez,
assuming that they are serious about re-signing him.
Sure, yeah, they re-sign him.
No,
yeah.
But okay. I will drive Dominguez to San Diego myself. Okay, like no disrespect, but Juan Soto is a generational hitter. I know we throw around generational all the time. No, he is legit a generational. Bro, we were having discussion, but by we I mean insane people. In like May, like, oh, is Juan Soto washed up? And he had like a 140 WRC plus at that point. They were like, is he washed? Is he cooked? It's like, are you guys insane? Do you not realize you're paying him the highest compliment you could pay him by saying like, oh, he's not having the same kind of impact? Like, oh, I'm sorry, his OPS is only 930 instead of like 980 that usually is. I'm so sorry, but oh yeah, I would send everybody for Juan Soto. Nobody is off limits. Everybody could go. Volpe, Dominguez, like I know behind the scenes, like they were trying to get the Nationals to engage, and they were like, Volpe, Dominguez, we don't really care. Like you could have both of them, you could have one of them and others if you prefer. And the Nationals was like, nah, we really want James Wood, which he's really good. So I'm not shitting on them for it, but that's just how that went. But the Yankees were willing to just say, hey, here, just let us know when you want to stop. And the Nationals was like, we don't want your money. We don't want to engage. We're good. And they got James Wood and all of them. And, here we are.
Yeah, it's hard to knock the return they got. They can't like Mackenzie Gore was as highly touted a pitching prospect, and he shit on the Red Sox this year. I saw that up close and personal. CJ Abrams was a high pedigree guy, and I believe he was really good the second half of the season.
It looks like something's clicked for him.
Yeah, and I mean James Wood, I literally told Heim to his face to draft, and he took Meyer instead, which fair, but we didn't even get our second round pick signed, so we could have just fucking taken him there. But it is what it is. I wouldn't be mad if we traded for Soto. I'd really have to see the package because my largest concern is this next guy coming in and just emptying out the farm system like day one. That would be really annoying.
That's what I need. Get Marcelo up out of there. I guess I'll leave Roman out of this because they're already parading him around like he's a franchise icon in the making. So I'm gonna leave him out of this. Get Blaze out of there, both of them. Get both of them up out of there. Y'all don't got no pictures that I remember off the top of my head, so I'm gonna leave that alone. But get all the good position players up out of there, please. Thank you.
Nah, I won't stand for it. I just won't stand for it. But that has been the only teams that matter. We'll be back next week. See what's going on with the playoffs. I know we didn't talk about it a ton here today. Games are going on. Some teams have already moved on. Doesn't feel that 3-game series. It's hard for me to care about a 3-game series.
Amen.
So When the real series start, we'll talk about them. But until then, I'm Coley Mick.
Okay, Lou.
See you guys next week.